both of our sides of the aisle, being just so far apart on a number of different issues that affect our communities, that affect even infrastructure spending. I don't know how many people paid attention to the fight on roads and road investment this last budget, but it was quite interesting. Even in sparsity aid, I was just on the education committee. We're talking about aid for rural school districts that are usually fewer than 800 students. But it was hard to get folks on the other side of the aisle to recognize that it's an investment worthy of our dollars. It would take $41 million to fully fund rural schools through sparsity aid. But unfortunately, it wasn't a part of the compromise with the governor and some of the leaders in the Senate and Assembly to fully make that decision. So we're making baby steps on a number of different things, but not anything significant. If there is any light, it's after 2018. It's after a number of, I would say, not just left-leaning voters, but right-leaning voters are frustrated with even some of their own elected officials on their side, and they're looking for progress, and they're still not getting it at this point.
What's your position on open road tolling?
Oh, good question. How many people like tolls in this room? Huh? Yeah. I like road funding, and I think we have put ourselves in a position where we've rejected federal funding for a number of other things that definitely would affect the amount of cars on the road. As you talk about mass transportation, there are some things that we should have invested in. And we should have more dollars going back to the local level to pay for local services and infrastructure. But we're doing the opposite. We're giving money back to the federal government, and we are not giving local governments more aid and more funding so they can replace more infrastructure that's aging at a very high rate. And if anybody knows how bad our roads are, it's our cars. Which are seeing at least 30% more in repair costs, just from suspension and tire replaces alone. So it's a horrible position to be in when nobody can agree to replace the infrastructure, so we just keep the aging one. And it keeps getting worse, and our pockets suffer. So I would say there's a way to get to more road funding at the state, but we clearly have made decisions that have put our money in other places. The manufacturing and agriculture tax credit alone, the MAT credit, accounts for more than, I think, 1.5 billion that we've put into that tax credit that just goes to manufacturers because they're a manufacturer. Not based on the fact that they create jobs, not based on the fact that that funding is needed for a certain reason. It's because they're a corporation in manufacturing. And that's not good enough because they rely on the same road infrastructure to move their products, to move so many other things that they absolutely need for their own productivity. So we're moving backwards, unfortunately, at this point, but I would hope we can have real holistic conversations on road funding and how much it really takes. One of the conversations, I'll finish on this, but I think I'm running out of time. One of the conversations that's happening in Michigan, they're talking about spending billions on road infrastructure because they have a surplus and they're going to figure out what to do with it. We're not having that conversation, nor are we setting up our finances in the state where, I think the rainy day fund has 40 million left in it, Senator?
No, please don't.
It's abysmal. That's the point. It's abysmal, and the state would run through those dollars in the matter of weeks if it really came down to it. But we are not prepared to really set ourselves up to really make the infrastructure investments that we need to, and we've been putting our priorities in the wrong place. At the same time, spending in corrections has been, and incarceration has been going so high we spend more money on corrections now than education for the first time since ever in our history, since 2015, I think it finally switched. So we've been on this road and we gotta get off. Somebody has to let the driver know we gotta get off. Or we gotta be the driver. How about that?
We just made another driver.
Thank you so
Real
much
quick,
for having me.
what areas do you represent? Are you?
Oh,
I just don't know. This is
Good
a.
point. I represent a big chunk of the city of Milwaukee from 35th Street on Capitol Drive. If you think of Capitol Drive, it's the middle line between the district all the way to the lakefront.
Why don't we just give
The
a whole book and let them look at the map?
Yeah, it's in the blue book. Thank you, Senator, for bringing the blue books. So all of the villages of Shorewood up to the Glendale border, up to Center Street and River West.
So you're my representative.
I am.
Thank you. I may have voted for you, so I just don't know.
Okay, no worries. Thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you.
This is why I enjoy this night. I mean, it's nice, and especially get all of our representatives in one room in 2 hours. That doesn't happen very often, so it's pretty incredible that we get 20 of you that do this. Next, we have our State Senator Lena Taylor, who will have about 7:05, so she'll have the next 20 minutes to talk more as far as what's happening at the state level, but stuff at the assembly, what's happening in the state senate.
So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that you all get a blue book. I'm also going to leave some cards at the table for you, but I believe in interactiveness, so I'm going to pass out some cards for all of you so that you have them. It's the same, no, all is well. Thank you, Tyler. So that you have that information in case you want to get in contact. The blue books are blue books so that you know who your elected officials are. You'll be able to look at the numbers. I represent the 4th Senate District. I want to say we're on page 24, maybe. I always used to know the number with the kids and I say, oh, it's the best page in the book.
How many more do we need?
So maybe, so I don't know.
Raise your hand if you don't have one.
Oh, there we go. 29. So, and if you like more, I have others. And if anybody would like maps, I have maps. And feel free to take extras of all of that. And then also cards. Before I get started too far, the other thing I want to do is, since it's Black History Month, the first thing I'd like to do is introduce you to someone. Anybody in here familiar with a guy named Ezekiel Gillespie? Wonderful, wonderful. I got one hand. What do you know about Ezekiel? Is his face downtown? I didn't even know that. You just educated me, girl. So, Ezekiel was the first African-American guy to go and vote in the city of Milwaukee. And Ezekiel was denied the right to vote in 1865. And so I always like to say that Ezekiel was my kind of Negro, because Ezekiel sued his way all the way to the Supreme Court of the state of Wisconsin. In 1866, the Supreme Court ruled in his favor. And that to me, I have people, but only 2 cards. Sorry. It's just a little vote card so you know how to look up information and be a resource for others to help them. But Ezekiel sued all the way to the Supreme Court of the state of Wisconsin. And in 1866, brace yourself, the Supreme Court of the state of Wisconsin ruled in his favor unanimously and gave black men, just for clarity, ladies, we did not have the right to vote. Not black ladies, not white ladies, not Hispanic ladies, not Hmong ladies. Ladies, we didn't have the right to vote. But Ezekiel won the right to vote in 1866. So, welcome to Black History. I live at 365. But I also wanted to give you your blue books so you have the information of who are your electeds. Who are your electeds through the state? Who did we elect to be the animal of the state? What is our flower? Do we have Kringle as a pastry for our state? I mean, there are some really important pieces of information that you will find in the blue book. And it is extremely important, and I'm pretty sure that the best representatives out of all of them that you will find in the book are on page 29 and 30. The other thing that I'd like to do is mention some of the things that Representative David Bowen spoke about. I'd like to just run through a couple of those things if I could. One, education, sparsity aid. He was telling you how on the committee they had been trying all session. We're about to end session.
Varsity aid?
Sparsity. Sparsity aid. So just for clarity, sparsity aid was created by myself and Representative Pedro Colon on the Democratic side of the aisle some years ago. We even kind of shut down the Finance Committee, that time to get a RTA, Regional Transit Authority, to be done during that time. So we did sparsity aid, and I thought it would die when the Republicans got in control. They kept it. And so he was saying during committee he couldn't get them to vote or to support it.
And
Today, they did.
Sparse is defined in the statutes as having a student
Declining
that's more than
enrollment.
10 miles away from each other.
And they're also having declining enrollment in these districts, and so it's how do you help these districts survive
Yep.
that are having declining enrollment. So they wouldn't do it during the session, but now it's, forgive me Lord, but to me, it seems like it's just because it's during election time.
It's a campaign season.
Because any other time that we've asked about it, it was not gonna happen. Now we're about to get done, and today on finance, guess what we funded? Sparsity aid.
Varsity aid, yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's not a good thing, it is. It's a good thing. But guess what we didn't do? Milwaukee had expected to get money for summer school. And we took so long to do our budget that by the time we did it, it was too late to get the money for summer school because summer school was over, but we should have finished the budget early enough to get the money for summer school. So then the school district had a negative, and did we do anything for that? We did not. So wanted to mention that about education. Foxconn, let me breathe. I do not dislike Foxconn. Today it was stated during the Finance Committee by my colleague on the other side of the aisle that we hate Foxconn. Representative Bowen mentioned to you also, I don't dislike Foxconn. His family asked that question. I want to say, related to Foxconn, it is not whether or not I dislike it, it's whether or not I believe that there are Wisconsin businesses that could have created opportunity. I bet. Anybody here own a business? Okay, a couple people. I bet, if I had asked you, could we give you an incentive to create some jobs? We got $4 billion for you. Would you have said no? I mean, you would have said, maybe I don't need the whole $4 billion, but I could work something out. Or you might have said, okay, and call some of your friends that have businesses and say, how many can you do? How many can you do? How many can you do? We only need to get to 3,000, and then we can promise them another 10. So for me, I thought it would have been nice to invest in our people. Forgive me. I'm kind of a team player. Go Wisconsin. It's kind of where I come from.
I have a question
Yes, ma'am.
about that, because if that money was available, how does the average person say, for myself, I got my MBA in 2015, I never heard about how to access state funds in that manner to become a business entity of that magnitude.
I'm going to say this to you.
So how do I...
What I have found, what seems to be, it may sound whatever, but I'm just telling the truth that I know, okay? It seems that the list, the people, seem to be somehow or another aligned and connected to being donors to individuals on the other side of the aisle. That is a comparison that we seem to see. It is incentivizing individuals to come, and I'm excited that Foxconn has decided to buy a building downtown. Except I don't know who's gonna get those 600 jobs. You said something, sir, that I wanted to comment on and why I wanted to bring the Foxconn situation up. It is a shell game. Because there are businesses here who need individuals. And they're saying, we need people to be skilled. They say we need people that have soft skills or have the skills for the jobs that we have available. We haven't invested in our people so that we are able to make our people prepared for the jobs that we already had, yet alone the jobs, the mystery jobs that we question whether or not we will or will not get, but we're going to be paying for Foxconn. And so when you get done, some people will leave companies that we have, and they're going to go and get paid better with Foxconn. And we're going to pay $7 million to advertise for people to come from other states to take those jobs. I don't know, maybe somewhere in the room believes that that's okay. I kind of think it's, again, call me selfish. I believe we should be investing in us. Before we try to go and get millennials that's somewhere else, maybe we should just try to figure out how we can keep our own millennials. How we can educate our own millennials and prepare our own millennials. So give me one moment and I then will for sure take all of the different questions, but I want to try to get through quite a few things because I don't have a lot of time. The other issue that was brought up is the unemployment issue. The unemployment issue, often you will hear the governor talk about, and you will hear individuals talk about our unemployment rate is down. When people no longer are trying or fall off of the way that they calculate the unemployment, then it makes your unemployment look lower than it is. And I don't know, if you're a community and you live next to another community where it's more than 50% of unemployment of African American men, it just kind of seems to me like you feel the effects of unemployment. And if not, you see them on the TV screen on the news, or you see it driving through red lights.